For our second episode of SFX Animated, I wanted to essentially jump back into another superhero anime. Well, another superhero television show. Sorry, I have anime on the brain. And, yeah, it's a brand new show. It's just started coming on Cartoon Network, or at least it will start, because currently I'm recording this before the first air date. It's called Young Justice, and it begins airing on January 7th. Currently it's January 5th at 1:59 in the morning, but that's not important. And this series is essentially, it's basically like Teen Titans. What it does is it brings the younger superheroes, well, technically the sidekicks from the DC universe, and essentially brings them into one series, and basically sets them up independent of the more, more advanced superheroes like Batman, Superman, stuff like that. So in this series we have Robin, we have Aqualad, we have Kid Flash, we have Speedy, and then they also introduced Superboy. And currently only one episode is aired. It was a series premiere which ran for an hour, and it just showed off the first four. Speedy unfortunately leaves the group pretty early after realizing that the adult superheroes aren't really taking them seriously.
Not anymore.
However, when Speedy leaves, the other superheroes also come to terms with it, and they realize that their adult counterparts aren't really taking them seriously. And so, as a result, they take on a mission to save some scientists that are trapped in a Cadmus facility. And the facility is on fire, but after they successfully save the scientists, they realize that there are a few other things going on within the facility. A strange figure leads them into a back room, and ultimately they end up traversing the tunnels of this Cadmus facility, going deeper and deeper underground. And as they get deeper in there, they realize that there are some things going on that the Justice League doesn't know about that are really difficult to explain. And so as curiosity leads them deeper, and as they're chased deeper by inhabitants of the facility, some genetic experiments done by Cadmus, they start to realize there are some nefarious things going on. And I mean, their curiosity is ultimately piqued when they discover a frozen genetic clone of Superman, codenamed Superboy. And as they do research on it from a terminal nearby, they find out that Superboy supposedly has all the strengths of Superman without any of his weaknesses. And what he is he's a genetic makeup that's essentially like a backup plan for Cadmus in case they lose the ability or something happens in which they'll need to destroy Superman or this and that. It's basically a weapon that they have just in case they need to fight Superman off. And essentially they come to this impasse in which they have to decide whether to destroy or to save him, and with the final conclusion being that they'll save him and essentially teach him why Cadmus is evil, this and that. And so as they're progressing to this point, I mean, they're ultimately captured, and Superboy must come to terms with whether or not to set them free. And I mean, after they coax him a little bit, they persuade him that he wants to see the sunlight, that he wants to see Superman, that this is just a facade world created by Cadmus to further their own goals. And so, as they ultimately escape the facility after getting on the good side of Superboy, they have to fight several enemies, and in the end, it turns out to be a really epic battle as they escape. Pretty funny, but at the same time, pretty action-packed. Considering that this is the first episode, we haven't really gotten too much into a story-wise. It just serves as an introduction for all the different characters. And the characters that we do see, I mean, the four primaries within the episode are Robin, Kid Flash, Aqualad, and Superboy. And they give you a pretty detailed look at each character. Robin, just like many of his alter egos from like other DC series, he's pretty laid back at the same time, a little comic. He's an acrobat. He's also a genius. Is essentially a prodigy, just like I said, any other Robin you've ever seen in any series. In this series, he's also an expert hacker for some reason. I mean, he's able to hack really advanced computers. He hacks Batman's computers with no problem. And it's very comic, especially his little device that he uses. It shows like little Robins laughing maniacally. And Yeah, as far as him being the lead in this series, though, I believe they have confirmed Aqualad to be the leader, which is an odd placement considering I've always seen Robin as the leader. I mean, they also introduced Kid Flash, and as far as Kid Flash's personality, you can see it's clearly a mirror of that of Flash. And I mean, in the same respect, he has the same type of sense of humor. I mean, his powers are the same. And for the most part, he's just playing the same role. He's almost comic relief, but at the same time, he's a valuable member of the team. He's a great character. I mean, you can't really go without him. But at the same time, I feel like just the comic role is almost oversaturated at this point, especially considering that Robin seems to also serve a little bit of a comic role. In addition to Robin and Kid Flash, we also have Aqualad. And he's probably the most original character here because he is not directly related to any of the comics. I believe that he's a newer character that he developed either specifically for this series or for comics related to this series, and he has really unique powers. He's able to bend the water around him into different weapons or different skills and stuff like that, and it's very unique. It's very cool. And I believe that he's supposed to be taking the role as leader. It's a different approach to it. I don't really know how it's going to turn out. I guess you have to wait for the series to actually see him. And for the most part, he's rather stoic. And the final hero that we really have to talk about during the premiere episode was Superboy. And primarily what we see about Superboy is he is a genetic clone of Superman, and primarily his personality is a little mixed. He's angry because, I don't know, he feels that angst of being a clone, but at the same time he wants to be like Superman. He wants to prove himself as an individual, not merely a clone. And just, if you look at it, Superman is almost his idol. Just the way, just the respect he has for him, I guess, for being that powerful superhero, for being essentially his father. And that's like the idea that it takes during the series. But I think his personality, just in my point of view, is the most interesting because it actually shows off a character that, though he's modeled after Superman, though he's modeled after such an impenetrable, almost perfect figure, he's very flawed. I mean, he has a personality that definitely leaves a lot of room for advancement. He has a lot of room to find himself over the course of the series, and it definitely makes the series a lot more interesting. And so it's going to be fun actually seeing where that goes later on. And for the most part, that's all that they have for the premiere episode. Other than that, there's a pretty interesting battle against Blockbuster, who I'm pretty sure if you're familiar with the DC universe, you know who he is. But when I first saw the series, I had no clue. I thought he was just some random thing that they threw in here. But yeah, and from there, the episode ends shortly after they defeat Blockbuster, and in the end, they get their own little hideout. Is the original location of the Justice League, and they reveal Miss Martian, who is supposedly the niece of John Jones. And so it leaves a little bit for the next episode, but for the most part, it seems like it's gonna hold up pretty well.
Hey, Superboy, come meet Miss M.
I like your t-shirt.
Today is the day.